Hey guys, here at osandvtxreviews.com. Today we're giving you our first look at the Apple iPhone 4S. Or is it the 4S? From the outside it looks exactly like the iPhone 4S, but unfortunately this is an iPhone clone. Now we've seen iPhone clones in the past and they've been notoriously horrible for their very insensitive resistive touchscreen that forces you to take your fingernail and slam it into the screen to get some response out of the device. Also, typically Android clones run a very bad Linux kernel inside that is very unfunctional, and also it makes things really clustered, really slow to respond, and puts out basically any feature and any ease of use that you get from the real iPhone. And for those reasons alone, even though iPhone clones are cheap, we would never recommend them to people who are looking for a solid smartphone or handset. What makes this device in my hand right now a little bit more unique is the fact that it's been showing up a lot on popular science magazines, and we've been seeing it online. And what's special about it is underneath the hood it actually runs Android, and on the outside it's just very much like an iPhone clone, but on the inside it actually has a skin which is covering Android up and making it look like visually an iOS device. And what that means, you're getting a much faster processor on the hood. In addition, you have pinch to zoom and also a tempered glass 3.5-inch capacitive touchscreen. And those specs alone really do make a huge difference. Just Android alone really makes this actually a smartphone, even though if it's not, as comparable to the real iPhone 4S. And it's a lot more interesting too to take a look at, and typically it's a lot better in terms of our performance and testing than any iPhone clones we've been seeing in the past, and we'll show you that in a second. First up, we'll take a look at the design on the outside. On the outside, you actually see that this is a one-on-one replica of the iPhone 4S, so if you're someone who enjoys Android, enjoys iOS, and likes the iPhone's exterior, I think you'll be happy here. It's very gutsy, though, because they even put the Apple logo on the back, which is something a little bit cringe-worthy. But let's just take a look anyways. On the top, we have that front-facing camera in addition to a speaker grill. We have that, again, 3.5-inch capacitive touchscreen. Below, we have the famous home button key. It's very tactile. On the left-hand side, we have access to that metal band, that offers a volume rocker in addition to a lock switch. These are all very easy to press, and these are all fairly accurate too. On the top, we have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, in addition to a on-off key that is tactile as well. On the right-hand side of the device, there is a full SIM card slot. This is one of the differences on this product in general. It's that the real iPhone 4S uses a micro SIM card, which is a little bit harder to find if you're a continental someone who travels all over the place. And because this is an unlocked quad-band GSM world phone, they wanted to guarantee that this phone is usable in all places. So although proportion-wise the door is the same width as the iPhone 4S, when you take it out of the slot, you'll notice that the SIM card tray holds a full SIM. So that may be good or may be bad depending on what type of place you're living in, what type of service you have. Also on the bottom of the device, you have the same typical 30-pin dock connector that actually works with all pre-existing Apple accessories and components. Also, you have the two speaker grills. On the back, you have that famous tempered glass finish with the iPhone logo, and the iPhone labels. You also have the camera lens and an LED flash. An interesting aspect of this handset is that these are actually this phone actually feels very authentic in your hands, because the weight, it doesn't cringe in your hand, and also the tempered glass finishes and the steel edges are actually real and they're not fake and plastically made. Another interesting thing of this handset is that it actually comes pre-included with an invisible shield-like installation out of the box. All you need to do is actually peel off the protective film, and you have a pre-existing screen protector, and also around the edges that you can kind of see here, which is a pretty cool thing. That's why I can see a lot of smudges and a lot of scratches right now, because it's the plastic that's on top of the glass that's getting a little bit more smudge attention. Alright, so that's the aesthetics. It looks very much real, it looks very elegant, although again, it's too much of an iPhone type design that we don't really think that it's very original, because it's an iPhone clone. But, yeah, it looks fairly beautiful and fairly one-on-one on the outside. The most important part of this phone that we're looking at now is going to be the OS and on the inside, and what the speed and performance is going to feel like. So upon pressing the home button, you're greeted to the unlock screen. Now the first thing you'll notice that the home button, or that slide to unlock, actually follows your finger really responsively, unlike a lot of iPhone clones on the market. And that's one of the first signals that this is going to be a little bit different in terms of performance and story on the inside. Sliding to unlock, you'll find a very similar iPhone grid-like overview, and it actually clones all the features except Siri, which is a big feature that's missing out, and it's something that's very interesting because I think this has the capability to do something similar to Siri, but they left that out. So pressing home button twice, of course, activates your multitasking features, and it brings up your pre-existing and open apps, and also includes, Safari, web browsing, and all these apps, in addition to your music player if you're playing a song right now, and your volume control. So these are all copied to a 1:1 ratio. Also on the top, we also have that drop-down menu system that Apple has now added to their new devices, and something of a little bit of a tweak up here is that you now have the option to switch different connections data services, and also timeouts and brightness settings. In addition, we also have some general settings like accelerometer and vibration modes and silent modes. So taking a look at the UI and the features, everything is very much one-on-one again. You can even drag and hold down these widgets in order to rearrange the icons and also place them inside one another to create folders, which are, again, looking exactly like what you see on a real iPhone. And again, you can see that the performance is really not sluggish as, on this device at all, which is a surprise for us because we're so used to seeing terrible clones in terms of performance. And this one is just very sleek and very responsive, and the lightest touch will send the device to actually activate what you want to do, just like the real device is. Sliding to the left allows you to access the universal search, that search all your apps and all your memos and your songs. You press M, music, that should bring up our songs and our selections. Now, of course, this is Android, so you can also install some third-party widgets on the side. For example, this is a security little widget that I place on here. You can erase that if you want to get a very authentic iPhone clone-like experience. You can always remove that widget. Now, something more interesting and something that I liked on this handset in particular was the ability to change wallpapers. Now, this is the traditional, of course, iPhone 4S wallpaper. But going to the settings and going to the general settings, we can actually, general settings, we can actually change the background and allow you to change the wallpaper, and you don't have to stick with the traditional wallpaper that Apple offers like these. These are pretty much copied into this product. But if you don't like something like that, we can press wallpaper and select live wallpapers, and you can actually access real live wallpapers on the back of an iOS-like device, which is very interesting because since it's running Android, you have all the pre-existing Android live home screens that can go on top, which is pretty fun. For example, Nexus theme, we can set that. And now we have iOS with Nexus One's Google background on the back. This is just really interesting because when I first saw the Nexus One come out a few years ago, one of my favorite features aesthetic on the outside was definitely its live wallpaper feature, and I was very envious as an iOS user. And now, voila, there's something you can interact with and make your device look a little bit more beautiful. If you don't like that, there's also a few more wallpapers. It's under launcher settings instead, that you can customize with, and some of them I have not ever seen on an Android device before. For example, there's fireworks, which I don't know if it's just me, but I don't think I've seen this live wallpaper before. But what this allows you to do, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like grass, except on the background there's fireworks, and you can press fireworks in different colors and explosions. Another very cool aesthetic look and tone to the handset in general. Now, aside from that, we're going to take a look at your photos. I'm going to launch an appropriate photo and pretty much show you how an experience like that works. So here's your photo. Let's try the accelerometer. It's a little bit slower on rotating photos, which is something I've noticed, but it does it over, and it still works. And let's see, pinch to zoom, though, is a lot faster, a lot more responsive. It's instantaneous, which is something that's very nice. It's crystal smooth, and web browsing is a very great ease on this handset. Now, one of the things you might notice about this phone immediately is that there's no viewing angle issues. Although this is not going to be a retina display, it's also very sharp and vibrant. From 360 degrees, you can read the device even under direct sunlight and direct light. This is an impressive display. It's sharp, and it's nice in contrast. So the camera is a little bit of a disappointment. It's definitely not your 5-megapixel camera that you typically get. It's only VGA, I am guessing. The back is probably going to be 2-3 megapixels at best. But the LED flash is quite impressive, and you can always pinch to zoom and edit your photos with a built-in photo editor. Taking a look at calendar, you get your very typical calendar needs. They look exactly like iOS does, and it's all copied to a very scary extent. And you also have Newsstand, which is another interesting. You can pretty much read books and flip them in an iOS-like fashion. See if we can switch accelerometer, and there we go. There's the clock view, which you can see the world time, and again, this looks one-on-one with the iPhone 4S. It's a little bit eerie, I have to say. You also have weather, which again, one-on-one. A little bit scary. We have videos, which you can also watch and put in MP4 formatted videos. A good thing of this device is because it's not an iPhone authentic product, you don't have to encode it in a specially formatted way. You can just directly drop in MP4 files and it will play on the movie, it will play on the video experience. And battery life is fairly good, very decent. Phone quality is also pretty good. Speakerphone is really loud. For that, I'm pretty impressed. And also, battery life, it's going to last you around a week in standby, but it's going to run out if you use it considerably within a workday. You're going to probably charge it every 2 to 3 days, which is really decent. Other features you can maybe want to see is probably the web browser. You can use Safari or a fake Safari. It's actually using Android underneath here, but let's just say that we want to go to Google and bring up, let's go in this maybe, the link bar, bring up the standard Android, or this actually looks like an iOS keyboard. Let's go to google.com. So again, because this is a multi-touch display, things are going to be really responsive and fairly fast, as you can see, and fairly speedy. And there you go, pinch to zoom works really, really nicely, crystal smooth, very nice. And we have to try, okay, there's Hallelujah, and I was trying to search this earlier, and there, you can see the music, and you can see the tones. Let's go to NewYorkTimes.com just to show you that. New York Times, let's just search New York Times first, NewYorkTimes.com, and click on that. Again, this is over Wi-Fi right now. You can also place this with your SIM card in and browse the web that way, but you can, of course, use it with Wi-Fi. You also have Bluetooth and GPS built in, so you can navigate, and also you can listen to music wirelessly. So while this page loads, I want to show you the music browser, the music player really fast. It's fairly standard in terms of iPhone clones. It looks very much like the real one, the real deal, except it's not. And we'll explain that in a second. So there you go. It's loaded. And we can pinch to zoom and to see the full New York Times page. I'm kind of glad that it didn't show a mobile website. Instead, it showed the entire full page view. That's very impressive. All right. So now, of course, when you're talking about the App Store, you will be accessing the Android App Store, which is another thing that's pretty interesting. It's not that big of a deal because the Android marketplace is also fairly large now. It's not like you're getting the WebOS App Store or something like that. For example, let's just launch that up, and I'm just going to search A for App Store. There we go. And launch that. And you will see it looks like Android because it is Android. And this is currently in Chinese settings right now. You can always change it back to English in the settings bar. But you have your favorite apps, your free apps, and yeah, you can download them and place them on here. Now let's go into settings one more time and check out the capacity and the general setup of this product. And you'll see, let's see, about this phone, what it has. So it claims to have, be the iPhone 4S, of course there. It claims to have a 32 gigabyte capacity, but the available space is only around 7 gigs. So what that really means is that inside this iPhone you have an 8 gigabyte capacity, I think, and you can store around 7 gigs because 1 gig is probably around the OS and around videos that are pre-installed in the handset array. So it's not 32 gigs, that is an advertisement, that is something fake, as in this is a fake iPhone. And it runs Android 2.3, so there you go. You can also access YouTube, and there's your map view. That's pretty standard, I think. Let's just look at the music for our last thing today. We have playlists and songs and music. Again, you can slide through the menu bars to find your music, or you can flip your phone to the left and access the cover flow like view, and there's quite a lot of artists and musical tracks on here that's preloaded, so I don't know anything about this music, but it comes preloaded with your device, and you can delete it very easily via a computer via the 30-pin dock connector. So that's just a first look at an Android 4S device that's a clone, but it runs Android underneath the hood, and the experience is far superior to any iPhone clone we've seen in the past. Price point wise, it's going to cost you $200 or 1/3 of the actual iPhone, so it's extremely cheap. And because the iPhone 5 is now pretty much coming out, there's also iPhone 5 versions of this, again running Android, again with a capacitive touchscreen instead of resistive, and again with Android making all the difference underneath the hood. I think I'm pretty excited for this. So if if you're looking for something like this, this is probably one of the best clones yet. It's not the utter disappointment or the other terrible device that you're probably expecting. So it's just a first look. Thanks for watching here at OS and VTX Reviews, and please subscribe.